Hello and welcome back to the Fixing Football podcast. I'm here once again with Liam O'Meara. Liam, how are you doing, pal?
Very, very well, Martin. How you doing? You okay?
Oh, good, bro. So we've had a busy FA Cup weekend. Let's start on a lighter note, and let's start with your mates. Bolton getting their draw against Luton. Our other mates.
Yeah, exactly. Very commendable draw as well. We very much took the game to them, particularly in the first half. I thought Luton did coming back into it in the second and arguably probably could have won the game in the second half. And but no, Bolton stayed strong. We do have one of the best defences. Well, we had the best defence in the country based on clean sheets last calendar year. So I did wonder whether we could stand up to it, and we did. We needed a couple good saves from Nathan Baxter in net, and also it was a questionable penalty decision. I think that I didn't really see enough of it really to know whether it was a penalty or not. But there was VAR in operation, and they moved the game along. And yeah, all in all, I think Bolton can be proud and deserving of a good, well, I nearly said a good point, but a replay at the Fortress Tough Sheet.
We'll get onto the nitty gritty of that in a little bit because I do want to discuss replays in general. But it's one of the highlights really. I don't think there was many upsets other than a few Premier League teams getting taken to a draw.
No,
replay even.
I think every single Premier League team has been beaten by a team in the division below it. There's three draws. Yeah, yet. Obviously, at the time of recording, we are on the cusp of Wigan versus Man United battle of the Scrubbers. But there's not been any upsets yet. There have been in lower leagues. Maidstone beating Stevenage. They're I think the first Southern Premier League team that's got to this level in over 30 years or something, I think. So
yeah.
That's probably the big one.
Wrexham beat Shrewsbury.
I think there's that was always going to be a close one. There's not much between them, I would say. I think Wrexham are the League One side in all but name, really. I think if they're in our division, to be giving us a run for our money in promotion, to be honest. So I don't think that one was too much of a shock. Not really many others spring into my mind. What can you think of any?
No. Only it looked like Blackpool had Forest on the ropes for a while. Obviously, that ended up 2-2. Yeah, pretty much it. I'm a bit, I don't know, I'm a bit frustrated about the whole magic of the FA Cup weekend. Maybe I'm just on a downer because Arsenal lost, but the whole magic of the FA Cup is to have these big upsets and, I don't know, setting up glamour ties later on. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit jaded because I've had a shit.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it was actually a different FA Cup weekend. I'm a big fan of the third round. Obviously, it's been a bit trickier because we've not been in it for a while, but I've always loved it. And I think what made this year different is a lot of the teams played strong. Premier League teams played stronger sides. Each had a reason for doing so, I think. A lot of them really did want to progress in this or wanted to try and get some form going. So teams look at
Luton's team. They put almost Premier, other than I think is it Adebayo up top? Yes. Other than him, it was almost their first 11.
Yeah, and that was pretty similar to that across the board, really. And I think a lot of it is the form. Winning is obviously a habit, so there is real benefit for teams like Luton to get that win on the board, even if it is against a League One side in Bolton. Winning is a habit. Obviously, there was a bit of a need for Arsenal in a similar way, really. What were your thoughts on the Arsenal game, Martin?
I was not surprised at the strength of both teams because I think winning the FA Cup would be a great narrative if the other one went on to win the Premier League, which us along with Arsenal and Liverpool along with City is still the main three contenders, you would say. But it was another annoyingly harsh performance. We dominated most of the ball, had the XG defiles out there will be going mad because ours has been crazy the last couple of games, but We just can't seem to put it in the net at the moment, and it's costing us. I'm just hoping that this break now that we've got for a couple of weeks is going to help reset and recharge. I'm confident about us going into the end of the season with this break now, but it's just so frustrating. I can't. There's too many calls for an easy fix of just going by Ivan Toney or just going by this player. I don't think that there is a affordable answer out there for us. So I don't really know what the solution is. I think we played well again. I think we've played well both times we played Liverpool. The only match out of the recent slumping form where we haven't performed is the Fulham one. And the rest, like, we absolutely battered West Ham. We didn't deserve to lose against Aston Villa. We got a draw against Liverpool, and then what was the other one? I don't know. I feel like we haven't won or scored for absolutely ages now. So yeah,
well,
that's all I say. I'm not going.
Here's a question. So I agree, by the way. I don't think there's an easy fix buying a striker. I think you could, if there was a striker available, you should definitely buy one. I've thought that for 2 years. But you say fixing a problem. You didn't have a striker last year. So why is it a problem now?
That's true. It's a problem now because the other three aren't chipping in the same way they did last year in Saka, Martinelli and Odegaard. And Havertz, you could throw him into the mix because Xhaka was scoring a lot last season and he's coming to replace that. You're always relying on your number 9, your main guy up front, to cover their slack if it isn't going to be a joint effort, and that hasn't been the case. So,
are you not worried about every signing that you've made has almost been a like-for-like replacement for somebody else? Are you not worried that you've not evolved the team and that you're being not found out, but there is a way to play against you that teams have picked up on?
I don't think that's the kit. That is, like, we bought Zinchenko isn't a like-for-like replacement for Tierney.
But Zinchenko's been there 18 months now. So, and he's been first choice, really, hasn't he?
Yeah. I am, and I think other Arsenal fans have voiced this before about not having different options, being able to switch our style around. You put it weirdly like we need... I'm trying to think of the way to describe it. You can't have 2 11s constantly being rotated all the time. There has to be something. I just think there always needs to be an other option as well. I sound like I'm talking myself in riddles here, but it's like we have the small, stocky, nippy forward who's great at holding the ball up. Sometimes you need a target man. Sometimes you need like Giroud to come off the bench, and that's not what we've got anymore.
I don't think you have a presence. I don't think it's just target man. I think that's where football gets confused, that you either have one thing or the other. Like, it has to be either Jesus or Vlahovic, for example.
Yeah.
But you can have a presence up there that isn't necessarily a big target man. Like, I would say Jota is that, because Jota imposes himself on opponents. He's always on the shoulder. He's chasing everything down. And to me, he's a very, very different player than Jesus, yet could theoretically occupy a similar space in terms of his stature. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that I feel like you could have added up there, and it didn't necessarily need to be Vlahovic or Harry Kane or Ibrahimovic at a retirement. It didn't need to be a static sort of big forward. You could have looked at options. Yeah.
I just don't know who's out there. So many Arsenal fans are flapping around on other fan channels and talking about getting a striker in. I just don't see that being the fix. Getting someone in and getting something like that in, slotting into the team and saving our title charge. I don't think that's going to be the case. Like I said, I think our hands are tied by FFP a little bit. So, it looks unlikely that we are going to go out and spend 80 to 100 million on, Ivan Toney or whoever else is available out there at the moment. So I don't think we're going to settle and get someone in at 10, 15, 20 million who's going to be surplus to requirements by the summer.
Fair enough. We've got the big game tonight, though, Martin.
Big game.
Yes. Wigan versus Man United.
I'm looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've watched Wigan as well. I think I did watch them. I watched them when they beat Bolton. I'm not saying that to rub it in. That's just
No.
I wanted to watch that. And other than that, I haven't seen them. So I know they've had their troubles points wise and financially. But on the pitch, they seem a little bit steadier now. Can they? Are we looking? Are we realistically looking at an upset here, or is this a standard walkover by United?
I can't see an upset here. Wigan really played well against Bolton in that game. I'm not going to get too much into that because that one stung, but they played very well that day. But they're not having a fantastic season. Yes, they've obviously had the points deductions, and they're probably, unless there was an absolute disaster, going to be safe. But they've not really been pulling up trees. It's been a case of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, really, in terms of their season. So Man United should quite comfortably beat Wigan, I think. And if they don't, I would say that really then Ten Hag comes under quite a lot of pressure if they go out tonight. Because if they go out tonight,
it's season over, isn't it, tonight?
But let's be honest about it. This I've read that quite a lot. But what time's the draw? 1:45? What happens if the winner plays Man City at City? Season's over then, isn't it?
Just we've been delaying it for a couple of weeks anyway. It seems to get another match in where he can get a little win, and then
basically Man United season is hoping that City get really tough draws all the way through, and they get home draws because you can't rely on winning the FA Cup. So, but that's where they are now, and I'm not going to just stick the knife into United just because a United fan may or not be listening, ready to come in after the break.
Wink, wink. I'm just staying on this match for a minute. I'm interested to see the lineup that United go with. Ten Hag's been decent at getting youngsters involved in the first team this season. I can see him going all out with a full youngsters team. Is there anyone, or do you think it's a good chance for Højlund to, get some goals in under his name? And
I completely disagree. He can't go with youngsters here.
Really?
They've got no Europe. They're at both. So if you what you're waiting for? Like they can't go with youth. Don't get me wrong. They may rotate. You may see a couple will come back into the side, but they can't be taking this game lightly. Like this is a massive game. What else? I mean, are they realistically going to get top 4?
They're well off the pace. So, yeah, I think it's the only thing they have left to play for, realistically.
But we'll see. But we'll see. He may do that. He may.
I'm just thinking the opposition may dictate his choice here rather than the need for, the end goal of this tournament.
Potentially, I think you might see is Pellistri fit? You might see Pellistri. He might be tempted to do that, and you may see a couple more in midfield that come in. But other than that, not necessarily. I don't think. I don't see why you would do that. To be completely honest, maybe Shortire, maybe at a push, but I don't know why I would do that.
So? Fingers crossed. When is the replays, by the way?
Oh, good question. It'll be. I don't know.
It's in about 10 days' time or something.
Yeah, it's usually a couple of weeks or so after. But we'll get into replays in a bit more detail, I think, because there's that is the topic, isn't it, at the moment?
Fingers crossed, Bolton get through against Luton, and any Luton's fans who've been, continuing subscribing and listening, I hope you lose really, really badly up here in Bolton. But who's the dream draw for you next round?
It's always Man United. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. That is
away.
Either home or away. Home or away. Yeah, that's the dream draw. But I'd take any top side. That's what we want. We're in this competition to make money, and that's how you make money in it. We're not going to win it, are we? So we need that draw. What we don't want is to go out against someone like Maidstone in the next round, So yeah, that is what we're in it for. So let's get that game and then let's go out and focus on getting promoted.
Fair enough. Right, well, we'll have a quick break and then we will see who else is available to join us. And welcome back. I'm delighted to welcome back to the podcast Luke Foley. Luke, how are you doing? Happy New Year and all that.
Happy New Year, boys. It's good to be back. It's been a good listening to you over the episodes I've not been involved with. You've had some interesting comments. Can I just state as well that I don't have a problem with fizzy drinks, that Liam stated. Naylor's ice bath New Year's resolutions, a bit of a weird one, but yeah.
No, it's not. It's going well. This is a chance for me to actually give my cold plunge update. First time of the year, but I'm already at 3 minutes. So you're welcome. Hold the applause from the crowd. I'm at 3 minutes. I'm not quite at the shoulders yet because I've not figured out how to sit down properly. Because once you go down, you just got to find a spot and settle.
So you're just squatting at the moment?
Like, I'm sort of cross-legged, but because there's too much water in, I'm floating a little bit, so I can't get my bum down. And then once I've got to like a level that's about just above my heart, so I can't get lower.
So what? I've not really thought about this before. What makes this bucket different than just getting in any other bucket that's got cold water in it?
This one particular, it's like insulated. It's like a big flask. It's not plugged in or anything. So that's it.
But why would it need to be insulated when you're in there for 3 minutes?
So I don't have to change the water every day, and I can.
So it stays cold?
Yeah, or warm.
So like do you turn it on? Or do you turn it on?
Oh, no, it's not plugged into anything or like that. But like today, it was 1 degree when I woke up this morning, but the ice bath was still at about 10. What I'd left it, so.
Why don't you just jump in the reservoir?
10 is about as low as you need. I think science is between 57 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so whatever that equates to in regular temperatures.
What?
It's about between 14 and 10 degrees C is about as cold as you need the water.
What about Wim Hof? How cold does he go?
I don't have the facilities that Wim Hof does to have my own glacier where he goes underwater ice diving for days at a time. So I'm just dealing with a little tub in the garden at the moment.
What's the end goal now?
Oh, the end goal is to live forever.
And this ice bath's going to do that?
It's going to help, apparently, according to science.
Are you still having warm showers, though?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
What was your New Year's resolution, Liam?
I don't do New Year's resolutions, Luke.
Be kinder.
We're all about health and wealth here. That's our goal. And getting subscribers. It's the joint podcast goal.
Subscribers through any means necessary.
And sponsors.
And sponsors will do. Luke, before it kicks off, we've just had the lineups out for Wigan versus Man United. Man United have gone strong, so ignore everything that I said in the first half of this podcast. Give us your little prediction.
Well, to be honest, Neil, I agreed with you. I thought he might have gone with a younger squad, but clearly he has seen that his job's in trouble and a loss tonight would be the end for him, so he's gone strong, full strength. I think Liam's right. We should be beating Wigan. But it's in United's kind of genes at the moment to slip up, so we'll just see. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 win.
Liam, do you want to give us your thoughts on this one? You said United win, but let's give a little score.
I think United should at least 5. 5-0 United.
Yeah, I was going to go 4. That was mine. Right, well, this brings me on nicely while we're still rounding up the FA Cup, and I think there's another match tomorrow. Is it Chelsea tomorrow? No, that's a different match. Oh, that's the Carabao Cup tomorrow. So, the FA Cup third round finishes with this, and then we've got the draw for the next round afterwards. But replays have been the big talking point this last weekend. I think the threat of a replay when there's a break coming up, which Premier League clubs are going to take advantage of by doing some warm weather training, etc., and just piling on extra games for people. The talk of replays being scrapped is firmly in the headlines. So, Liam, I'm going to come to you first. What do you, seeing as though your team are in a replay and you are going to financially benefit massively from this, why should we keep replays in the FA Cup?
The answer's in the question because of the financial benefit to lower league teams. Don't get me wrong, I do have some sympathy. For example, when you mentioned the warm weather thing, we're talking about sort of Thomas Frank's comments, aren't we, with Brentford, with them getting the replay against Wolves, aren't we?
Yeah.
I have some sympathy for that, to be honest. I mean, my sympathy ends at the idea of they're playing too many games because, well, the Football League clubs are playing a huge amount of games and they're the ones that want the replays. So it kind of doesn't stand up to scrutiny with that argument. However, the Premier League is addressing the international element of their players by the fact that they have this winter break. But there may be other solutions that can go around that doesn't necessarily start, once again, changing something that is so many years old because essentially non-domestic managers don't like playing football games every week for some reason. So I think you can't scrap it. I have some sympathy for that situation. I'm open-minded to solutions. Maybe it could have been a week later or a couple of weeks later for the replay. Maybe if there are two Premier League teams, they can vote beforehand whether it goes to extra time or penalties. Or really, no one made Brentford draw the game, did they? Ultimately, they didn't necessarily have to draw that game. So, no, obviously they shouldn't get rid of them.
And of all people, Thomas Frank, it's not like Brentford are on a European charge as well. So of all teams, Brentford are pretty much dead centre of the Premier League. They don't have to worry about, Europe as well as two other cup competitions. So to talk about the amount of games, it's a bit...
I think it interrupts preparation. I think for a lot of these mid-table to lower league sides, mid-table to lower Premier League sides, they will fall on the same path as the bigger sides in not wanting these because the preparation they do for each game now is huge. And I think when you have these sorts of games, like a Wolves game, when they know their fans will expect them to try and progress as well. Every fan wants to get to a cup final. That's what makes this tricky, really. So it creates a problem for them to prepare whatever game they would normally have afterwards. Luke, you're very quiet. What do you think?
I'm going to disagree with you, Liam, what we've just read.
There is a shock.
Here we go. He's back.
So I'm going to take a Bolton point of view. So, because I know he was talking about Brentford and Wolves then, but so you said this financial aspect of it, right? Is anyone really going to watch Bolton versus Luton on a Monday night or Thursday night?
Yeah, well,
is that going to be a big draw? I know. Previous episodes you said the draws for the cup games for Bolton, you've had poor attendance. Is it? Are you going to draw? Is it going to be a financial benefit for you guys for a Luton? Now I'm just going to say, I understand if it's a top tier Premier League club, like you said before, we wanted United. That would be obviously massive, big financial aspect, local rival. But Luton, come on, you don't want that, do you, Liam? Seriously?
The chance for the upset, I'll let Liam answer in a sec, but the chance for the upset should be enough of a sell for fans to go to face Premier League opposition. Also, the way that the money is split in the FA Cup in comparison to a league game works out better in teams' favour, so that's going to, just having another round of that where you're getting money, there's also a good chance that your match gets picked up for TV as well, just because it is a replay and there's probably not any other football on that night. So depending on when they fit it in the calendar. I mean, Liam, you take it from here, mate, but that's what I would say. Just the chance of anything going through in a cup competition is surely enough to get fans in.
Yeah, I mean, look, Luke makes a good point, and I have made that point about Bolton's cup attendances this season. But in fairness, with those games, who have we had at home in the cup this year? Barrow, Harrogate, Solihull Moors. Last season we played Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup, which we'd all agree is the lesser of the two cups, and there was 17,000 on. So let's say that Villa aren't as big. Let's say Villa are a bigger club than Luton. I think we'd all agree with that. Sorry, Luton fans again. But let's say we get 10,000 on at £10 a ticket. It's 100,000. And then you're quite right. The idea that it gets up for television, not necessarily domestically, internationally. The first leg was on television in a number of countries, the Luton versus Bolton game. So there is a huge incentive to do it. And I get the point. And there is a bit of a dreary element to Luton Bolton, but I did enjoy watching Bolton put it up against them, to be honest, against a perceived better team.
Just on that as well, how many fans did Bolton take to Luton this weekend, Liam?
Sold out in minutes. I think it was 1,600, the full allocation, which is, I mean, it only holds 11,000, doesn't it? That stadium or something like that. So it was very hard to get tickets for that game.
Luke, so are you on the side of scrapping replays altogether?
Yeah, but again, I think I'm biased from a top tier club. No one wants that replay if it affects the schedule. But from a United point of view, we don't have Europe anymore, or we're not in any other cup, so I suppose it doesn't really matter to us.
If we could, there's 3 points that I want to get through tonight, but if we can start at a little fix here, is there a way in which we can, or matches can be compensated? So a team like Bolton, say Bolton playing United, and they get a draw, but with scrap replays, how do we compensate a team like Bolton by not having replays anymore? What's the solution here? I'll put that to either of you. First one.
I'll go first. There really isn't one for that. That's where this doesn't really work, because let's say the first leg is at Bolton and Bolton get that draw. I mean, what's United's ticket revenue even on a cup game? 2 million, 3 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Bolton would be in line for half of that ticket revenue, and that's before you bring TV into it.
A third.
Was it a third? I thought it was 50-50 on cup games.
It's the FA Cup is a third to each club and a third to the FA.
Bloody FA there.
I know.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, even at those numbers, it's
a third of Old Trafford is bigger than Bolton Stadium, so that's
and the ticket prices that United can charge that's key to this, because even in a cup game, United could probably get away with charging £35-40 a ticket and sell out, because it's the availability to fans to go and see them then. So the problem is you can't, and to take away that could be on the table. So if you're Bolton playing that game, for the players particularly, the opportunity to go and play at Old Trafford, you're taking that off the table then. And I don't think you can do that. But is there a solution for the other teams that aren't going to be interested in it? If they're in the same division, for example, can you have ones where you decide beforehand? I don't know. We have to see. We always seem to have one thing or the other. But if we're going to do that, I don't see how you can really get rid of them. Really.
Yeah, like the choice for, like, say, Arsenal v Liverpool this weekend. I'm almost certain that both clubs would have voted for straight to a penalty shootout if it's a draw, and then it's over with, rather than a replay. Whereas Bolton v Luton, I think both teams probably would have voted for a replay, given the opportunity. So I think that's a fair shout for a fix. You're right; it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. It doesn't have to be an absolute either way. Luke, what do you reckon?
I think that could be a good fix, actually. Give the choice before the game. They both come to agreement. But I do think the Premier League teams, especially the top half, who
they'll never vote for a replay.
Yeah. So again, it goes back to that point: is if the lower leagues want them big teams, that's the whole point of it. And if you're given the choice, and that one team's, the lower team saying, "Yeah, we want the replay," and the other team saying, "No, not a chance." But where do you go then?
Yeah, I'm not sure. What about seeding this FA Cup draw? Is there a way in which that could balance out the figures both ways? If there was an upper half and a bottom half to the draw, so in which case some of the lower teams do get this big payday, that it's more of a guarantee that they do get a bigger payday.
Do you know, the seeding one's a funny one, because that's the idea that's put forward. But I've only seen fans of big clubs promote the idea, saying that, and it was a lot of it was around Arsenal and Liverpool fans saying, this is not what it's for. We don't want this. So I feel like it's being put forward as a solution that helps little clubs, but I don't see why Arsenal and Liverpool can't be drawn against each other in the third round. Like, why should they be kept apart? Because that's how I see it a little bit. I get the argument with regard to it, but the idea is that it's completely random, it's special, the draw is the draw. I feel like you're looking at the fabric of the thing there. I don't know what you guys think.
I agree. I completely agree, yeah.
What, that you can't seed it at all?
No.
But won't that help this in terms of getting rid of replays? And then you guaranteeing a team like Bolton with a better chance of getting a more financially beneficial tie in the next round.
Oh.
I know that then that gives Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, it gives all them clubs a better chance of winning the whole thing further on.
Yeah, exactly, because you're eliminating the chance of replays by basically turning them into cannon fodder. So
yeah,
but you're also then jeopardizing the other element of the money side of things, which is prize money. I was reading today that Maidstone United have made a 250,000 now, just by competing in the fourth round in total off the FA Cup and prize money. And that's just prize money. That's before anything else. Simple prize money. So, yeah, you've got that element as well, which it then jeopardizes.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of seeding it, but that is the only way I can see in which scrapping replays ends up working out better in the long run. So I don't think you can, realistically, I don't think either will happen.
It always feels like with these cups, all the solution's always less cup, isn't it? It's always more Premier League, less of everything else. It just feels like that's always the solution.
If we got rid of the League Cup, then I could maybe stand replays in the FA Cup. But for me, as a fan of a top six side, that fixture pile-up's just daft. So, well, I don't know. Am I moaning about too much football? I feel like I'm moaning about too much of a good thing.
You're in two competitions.
Not at the start of the season. I mean, I'm now.
Well, yeah, but when you say fixture pile-up's daft, I don't really subscribe to this. I think it is for players, including international commitments. I get that. But in terms of domestically for Premier League teams, I don't buy it. Like, we're in 3 competitions now, and we play more league games. So why is it a top 6 problem?
Good point.
What do you reckon, Luke?
The top 6 sides are in 4 competitions more.
No, I think from a Premier League point of view, there's more at stake in regards to money. That's why the complaints are. If you boil it down to it, there's more money in the top end, isn't there? That's why they're complaining.
I think that's, well, yeah, but then again, that's all relative to each club then, because what £200,000 is to Maidstone is not the same as what it is to Arsenal. So I'm not 100% sure if we could fix that without 2 radical changes in seeding and then getting rid of replays. Just out of interest, what is the situation with the replays? Are they getting scrapped, or is it still in discussion? Liam, I think it is still under discussion. And is it only replays until the 5th round, and then after that it's? Yeah,
I know. Has it changed this year? I know quarters have been off for a while, haven't they? They're extra round penalties for a while. Has it changed again this year, where it's the 6th round as well? I don't know if I'm being completely honest. Or should we pause for a second and I'll look at the 6th round as a replay?
Right. Liam's fact check time is up. Liam.
Well, it just turns out I was reading this before the podcast, and and it's actually the 3rd and 4th round that got to replay this year. So that's all we're talking. The 5th and quarterfinals there, extra time and penalties this year.
You know what? I'd take it a step further. I want to get rid of extra time as well.
Would you get rid of the first game as well? Get rid
and the first half. No, just extra time in general. I think it's pointless. I think it's rubbish. I can't remember.
In any game?
Yeah. Not added on time, like injury time. I'm on about the extra half hour that you have to play before you get to penalties. Maybe in finals, but even so, I can't remember. Other than the 99 Champions League final and the most recent World Cup final, I can't remember a good extra time in
think
my
it-
life.
I
I know
think
you. I
it's-
know you're going to throw about 5 or 6 examples of it that I'm not thinking of right now, but I just think extra time is such a waste. I'd much rather the teams be going for it for the 90. Everyone's getting cramped. Everyone's pulling up. Everyone's faking injuries, rolling non-subs. It's such a boring waste of time. I think you just go straight to penalties.
Luke?
I think I heard this on another podcast, Neil. I think it might have been one of the other...
I listen to no other podcasts. There is no other podcast available as far as I'm concerned.
I think it
Jesus.
was with Shearer, Micah Richards and Lineker when they were saying they're probably in the same
Who?
mindset.
which former Blackburn, Southampton, Newcastle striker was it, Luke?
Yeah, I think he was saying basically they're just pointless that extra time. Everyone's knackered and everyone's just too nervous to go for it. Everyone's just playing for penalties.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I don't listen to that particular podcast. It's a
No,
little bit
I have no idea what he's talking about as well.
It's a
So
li-
the fact that this Alan Shearer fella, whoever he is, good luck to him and that. The fact that he's saying similar things that I'm saying just shows that I'm on the right tracks.
Well, I was going to say it's a little bit lowbrow for me, that one. But what did they actually say? Did all of them say they don't like it? Did they agree with that?
yeah.
Really?
They agreed with getting rid of
all
extra
of
time.
I can't remember which one it was.
It
was a while ago.
I kind of get it, right? I kind of get the idea behind it, and it is often poor level of quality. But do you really want huge games to go straight to penalties? Is that like thinking of your Champions League semi-finals, for example, or do you really want them to go straight to penalties?
I just remember the point what they said. They said basically now, because there's so much extra time anyway on the added time, it's pointless. That's what they was kind of talking about. So these 12-minute extra time, added time you're getting now.
My point didn't really include that, but that makes sense why they would tie them two things together. But I just think it's delaying the inevitable most of the time. More often than not, a match isn't won in extra time. I'm pretty confident. I don't know them stats. I've literally just made that up. But I would back myself that is correct, that more often than not, matches that go to extra time
Football League Trophy. The Football League Trophy that obviously Bolton won last year, that goes straight to penalties. There's no extra time in that. And I remember at the semi-final, which I went to, Accrington Stanley away, semi-final, it was 0-0 after 80 minutes, and we were terrified. Because we were the team in the ascendancy. They were down to 10 men. We were putting all the pressure on. But the idea of penalties terrified us. But we didn't ease up. So we basically went through it at that point. So maybe it does encourage games to not go all the way to penalties. Yeah. I don't know. That'd be quite interesting to see if there's any. I don't know why there'd be research into that, because we've just kind of made this up now. But, if there was, it'd be interesting.
Yeah. And I'm right. I think you agree with me on something that you didn't know that you did. So I think I'm right. Liam, let's go to another point that we had. Let's move on from that. That was just a little side note. But what did you make of the inconsistent use of VAR this week? Our old friend VAR. The fact that it was available in Premier League grounds and not in some of the other ones, that it was used when available, but it wasn't consistent across the whole round.
It's a funny one, this, because obviously not everyone has it. So that's the first problem. But,
it's expensive. It's expensive to put in.
Exactly. But then if you've got it and it's sat there not being used, it seems silly to not use it. So, but then you talk about consistency across the board. But my view on this is that two different games in the same competition. Yes, it's the same competition, but they're two separate events. They're not influenced by each other. So one game having VAR doesn't affect the game that's not got VAR. And those incidences that happen in that game only happen in that game. They don't happen in the other game, even if you can have that view. So I'm of the view it doesn't matter whether some games had VAR or not. And you tend to, I know people like to look at other sports with this a lot of the time, but I didn't really have an issue with it. Luke, you'll probably disagree because you always do, but go on.
Do it.
Yeah, I disagree.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it should be the same rules for all, let's say, in the same competition. But it's. Can you do again? Sorry to put it on to Bolton again. Can you imagine if there was a big upset VAR wise in your game? Would you not be booting off now, saying scrap this shit?
Well, Luke, Sunday's game was Bolton's first ever game with the use of VAR, and there was a contentious decision.
Yeah,
in
Rob
the 80th
Edwards
minute.
Rob Edwards was concerned about it when he mentioned it
Yeah.
afterwards as well.
Yeah, I was dead concerned about it too. But like Luton could have had a penalty that was checked by VAR. You know, the delay in the game was awful. It was about 15 seconds. You know, I don't know how these Premier League fans have put up with it. It's ruined. I didn't know what was going on as a fan, so it was awful. And then they just said that's not a penalty. Carry on, and then everyone just got on with it. But maybe it's because it was Luton fans and Bolton fans that they just kind of got on with it. Not
real men.
Arsenal fans sort of
Yeah,
checking where the referee's from while they're waiting for the VAR decision.
yeah. Sorry, the real men were playing Luke. We had to sit down and shut up, drink our tea while the real men got on with it. I feel like I'm seeing more of a disillusionment across the board with VAR. I think everyone's tried to be supportive, but in my opinion, if it can't be a level playing field, and I think you make a valid point, Liam, that they are two separate entities, then both their matches. I think that's a fair opinion. But one referee is without help, and his crutches and his cronies backing him up, and one does have that in a match that can be influenced separately, and we've seen that happen. So I think it's got to be a level playing field, and I didn't like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a little pause. You, the listener, aren't going to know any different, but we're going to be right back with our opinions on the FA Cup draw. And we're back. Liam, let's have a quick FA Cup fourth round draw recap. Highlights of the draw. Who did Bolton get?
If we can get past the through the Luton game, we've got Crystal Palace or Everton away.
What a draw!
Should Man United? I know. Just it's a shame that the next draw out of the hat was the Man United one. Man United were drawn away at Newport. Is that right?
Newport or Eastleigh.
Again, what a draw.
So all the incentives there for you tonight, Luke, to beat Wigan. Fingers crossed when everyone's listening to this, it's already happened and that's all set up for them. That'd be a nice bit of money for them anyway. The other highlight of the draw was Tottenham versus Man City. And I think that's it's a big, good Premier League match. Both teams will go strong, so especially Spurs.
Villa Chelsea as well.
Villa Chelsea, good match.
Yeah.
At Stamford Bridge, so anyway,
I don't know. I think Everton away. That could be obviously quite a bit has to happen for that to happen, but I think that'd be all right. Trip to Woodison. Been a while.
My immediate thoughts, I know our friends at Everton, but my immediate thoughts are that Luton, knowing that one of them two fixtures is on the horizon, might not go as strong in the replay and might reserve some first teamers.
Actually, one that did go under the radar is, if results go well, it could be West Brom at home to Wolves. So Black Country Derby potentially there as well.
Yeah, it's been a while since that one's been on the cards as well. So anyway, there's our immediate reaction to the fourth round. Let's just summarise this episode. We spoke a lot about the FA Cup replays. Luke, you wanted to add something about replays?
Yeah, I'm going to give a kind of final point. From my point of view, is I don't think there should be replays. I'm going to throw it back at the Bolton, Liam. So,
of course,
if this replay happens, right? Well, obviously it's going to happen. What if Dion Charles gets injured in that replay, and then it's all panic stations for Bolton?
Yeah,
that's why I would. I know. I understand this. That could happen anyway. It could happen. But,
tries his shoelaces.
Yeah, I understand that, but there is that risk. Do you not agree?
Obviously, that would not be good, would it? But you're playing pretty much about £1 billion of a talent away at the DW Stadium, which is used for rugby tonight. So everything has risks. We'll be all right.
I don't think injuries is the greatest angle to go at the extra matches, yeah. I think the main concern, and Bolton would be less asked about a Dion Charles injury than they would the financial rewards of a replay. That would be my thoughts going in.
I suppose, Martin, we could bring the beginning and the end of the pod together, and you're looking for a striker. Bolton will accept a decent offer for Dion Charles. Could Arsenal be persuaded for 10 million for an international striker?
10 million for Dion Charles. I said 5 to 6 million the other week, and you said I was crazy. You said was an insane amount of money, and now you're trying to shop me for 10 million.
Well, we were discussing in the group, weren't we, this idea of a Premier League tax on the top clubs, so it'd be at least 10 million if Arsenal came knocking.
Yeah, we'll give that a miss. I think we'll swerve that. We'll stick with Nketiah. Unless you'll take a swap for Nketiah, because I'm ready to get rid.
I mean, but probably would do, wouldn't
we? Yeah. An England international, all-time under 21 goal scorer. Let's round it off there, boys. Thanks very much. Luke, it was lovely to have you back, mate. We will all catch up soon. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please do continue to share, continue to comment. Please do get in touch on Twitter. That's @FixingFootball, and you can find all our other social media links at www.fixingfootballpodcast.com. But lads, we'll catch up next week. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, lads.
Goodbye.